Well, welcome. Today, I am very delighted to be sitting with Mr. BrentRouble, who is, a contractor for the federal government, specifically with FedNor, an entrepreneur, certainly very passionate about economic development here in the community, and most recently, a proliferator of significant pumpkin. So welcome, Brent. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
Well, I'm certainly my pleasure. Of course, we will touch on the pumpkin. So 900-pound pumpkin, how do you even do that?
Yeah, it's 897. Just to be clear, I don't want to get the extra 3 pounds there. But honestly, it took a lot of work. There's a lot of research, a lot of hours involved in it.
Certainly.
You have to get the right seed. Giant pumpkin seeds, or giant pumpkins come from giant pumpkin seeds, which come from giant pumpkins. So you have to get the right seed.
Circle is complete.
Right? And I figured out the best way to plant them in my backyard, figured out the best practices, and that involved a lot of different techniques.
Okay.
Techniques that I would do over the course of April to October, or end of September. And lots of water. I'm hoping to get a Christmas card from the PUC this year because there's a lot of, my hydro bill was very high this year.
Okay, all right. And so then, so of course, we know it was on, this hour has 22 minutes, a nice little snippet. So, you are now somebody who is, moving forward and putting Sault Ste. Marie on the map specifically. Now, in your next endeavor, you are throwing your hat into the ring for CAO.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. Someone actually called me a celebrity at one point, and I thought that was really funny. I'm just honestly a hardworking guy who does what he says he's going to do.
Okay.
So I don't think that's anything celebrity, really. But it was great that this hour has 22 minutes kind of picked it up and made a pretty good joke about it. I thought
so, for sure, and although it kind of, for some residents perhaps kind of pokes at a sore point, but it was like literally a 10-second bit, and I found it to be quite funny. But let's, we'll move away from the pumpkin because, people have seen that and they've heard about it. But I'm quite interested in your thoughts on CAO, because really CAO, for somebody like me, like a regular sort of, I won't say Joe, we'll go with Jill, but, CAO is kind of like a rather nebulous term for, assigned authority and responsibility. How would you define that role?
The CAO job takes care of the day-to-day business of the city.
Okay.
And kind of guides our path moving forward along with City Council.
Okay.
And that's something I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about Sault Ste. Marie business, helping our area grow, Northern Ontario, helping the little guy really, and really Sault Ste. Marie kind of is a little guy, right?
Definitely.
And, we need help. And I've seen the inner workings of the city, and there's a lot of great people there, and I want to encourage those people to develop to their maximum potential and help them grow so that we as a city can grow. Okay,
well, certainly. And I would say that, over the last even 10 years, we've seen somewhat of an evolution of the, the council in and of itself, perhaps some could say the administration of the city. How do you see yourself kind of grabbing that momentum and moving it forward?
So this is kind of an exciting time because our council right now, they're fairly younger, honestly, and they seem more open to innovation, new ideas, risk-taking, and kind of getting up to speed with where we are in the world right now.
Right.
And that is interesting to me because all of a sudden, that might give me a chance for the CAO position.
Okay.
Right, whereas before, what the Sioux would typically do, they would typically hire from within or find some old guy from out of town who's basically retired, who doesn't know anything about the Sioux. They would come here, take over the job or whatnot. And I'd have 0% chance of getting the CAO job in that scenario, right?
Right.
But if the council does want to be innovative, risk-taking, all this stuff, and actually do something to try to get better, try to make the Sioux better, then you know what? I have a chance.
Certainly.
And there's a third scenario for, I think, the successful CAO, and that would be hire the mayor.
Okay.
So that's been done before.
Well, and I guess that's some of the questions that I have is, so so we have a mayor, we have a CAO, how do the two work together collaboratively?
Yeah, so the two work together to kind of forge a path for Sault Ste. Marie, right? So The mayor and city council are essentially the boss of the CAO, and they're elected by the members of the community.
Okay.
So the members of the community have a voice. They elect council. Council forms a committee. That committee then hires the CAO, and
Okay.
the CAO and council work together to develop the Sioux into what we as citizens want it to be.
Okay.
And the CEO also makes sure everything's on budget and whatnot also.
So I think you touch on like a really important point. So we have seen some newer concepts being pushed to the forefront, through city council, through various initiatives that some, more tenured residents in the community might see as being somewhat outside of the box. Now, you yourself, beyond the work that you do with FedNor, you are an entrepreneur. You were formerly, what did you say, a geophysicist?
Geoscientist.
Geoscientist. So you certainly have a broad range of educational expertise and experience to bring to the table. Where do you feel that Sault Ste. Marie could go?
Sault Ste. Marie could go anywhere. I think the sky's the limit, really. And honestly, innovation is my middle name, right? So I'm really passionate about a lot of different things, and I found ways to learn about a lot of different things really fast.
Right.
I went from a geoscientist in geology and underground geologist, open pit geologist, exploration geologist, underground mine rescuers. So that's essentially a firefighter underground.
Okay.
I did all that stuff. Transitioned into environmental consulting a little bit to help the environment more. And then I wanted to get into more of the business side of things. And
right.
honestly, I applied to about every position in the Sioux as a geoscientist, and they didn't want me. So I've been fighting to come back to the Sioux for a long time.
Okay.
And I realized they want an MBA. So I started taking an MBA during COVID, actually, and I found it very frustrating, actually, because the quality just wasn't there.
Okay.
So I found I could learn the subject of the MBA a lot better in my own way through audiobooks. And I found an audiobook by the author of the textbook for the MBA.
Oh, fantastic.
And I listened to that audiobook probably 5 times while working out, while driving, all that stuff, just listening. And I ended up getting a 98% in that course.
Wow.
Because of the audiobook. That was the only thing I did. So I said, there's something to this. So I started a business. I dropped out of the MBA and I started a business. And I'm trying to create an industry called the audio learning industry.
Wow.
So that's learning through audio.
Okay.
It helps busy professionals, people with dyslexia, whatnot.
Well, I think as well, we could see a broader application because, obviously it has been identified, not even recently, it's long been understood that people learn differently. Some people are audio learners, as you have just indicated. So I think that's particularly exciting. So certainly innovative, entrepreneurial. So, I mean, what is the process? Okay, so do you submit a resume to become CAO, or how does that work?
Yeah, basically.
So where are you in the process?
Well, so it's funny because I heard about the CEO position a while ago while I was working with the city. And as soon as I heard about it, I said, I'm going to apply to that. Kind of like with the pumpkin thing where when I heard about the Guinness World Record, I said, yeah, I'm going to attempt that record. And I'm not one to make a liar myself. So yeah, I did. I went for the record and now I'm going for the CAO job. Right?
There you go. Well, why not?
So the process is it became available for applicants about a month or so ago. And someone from the city actually notified me on the day it was open and they asked me to apply for it.
Right.
So I applied for it on the first day because I was already locked and loaded for it.
Nice.
I applied and then this whole pumpkin stuff happened. And the closing day was actually yesterday, November 8th.
Okay.
So now I'm hoping to get an interview, get on the short list from the consultants. Hopefully the consultants are able to see my passion and qualifications for this.
Okay.
Get on the short list, then I assume there'll be multiple interviews with the committee,
Right.
which includes councillors and the mayor and probably the consultants.
Okay. Now, you were contacted by a member working at the city. Now, you had actually formerly worked at the city.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And what did you do?
I was a business advisor for the city.
Okay.
So normally a business advisor, you do have to have the MBA degree and whatnot.
Okay.
But with my experience in starting businesses, my self-education in business through the audio learning, I was able to secure that position, and I worked that for about a year.
Okay, fantastic. So, so you do bring then to the table in terms of your bid for CAO, you do have some knowledge of the, the inner machinations of what makes Sault Ste. Marie as it is currently tick, how it runs. So,
Yeah, I'd say I have a fairly good knowledge actually of the inner workings of the city and how the city runs right now.
Okay.
And what it's really good at and where it might need a little bit of help, which is where I could step in.
okay, fantastic. Do you care to speak to one or two areas that it would
Yeah,
need
you
a
know
little
what?
fine-tuning?
It's funny because honestly, I'm an open book and I want to focus a lot on small businesses because I think small businesses are the lifeblood of our nation as a whole, really. And there's not enough effort being put into helping small businesses succeed, especially after COVID. COVID destroyed a lot of small businesses.
Absolutely.
Next year, guess what? Queen Street's going to be starting to get ripped up. A lot of businesses, that's going to be the final nail in the coffin.
Okay.
So businesses need help. Local businesses need a lot of help. Our downtown needs help. We need help with housing, with the drug issue, of course, with potholes, roads. There's a lot of issues that we have that should be worked on more. I'm not saying that they're not being worked on right now because we have some really smart people in the city who are working on this stuff. But I want to kind of drive that home more to everybody and really show them that we need to work on this stuff. And actually, for example, the other night I was on, council says they want a social media savvy CAO. The other night I was in some Facebook groups and I saw there's an issue with transit now. And I looked on it and it looks fairly legit actually. There's an issue with transit where certain routes are over capacity because of newcomers to the area, which we're really enforcing right now. We're really encouraging people to migrate to the Soo. And certain routes, especially on the college routes, they're maxed out and it's standing room only and it's very Toronto style, right?
Correct.
So what I say, my whole mentality on that is we're encouraging people to come to Sault Ste. Marie because it's not Toronto, right? We're not the busy hub like Toronto is.
Right.
We want to get people here because you have freedom, you have bike trails, beautiful scenery, there's space,
100%.
Easy commutes. But guess what? People are moving here and now they're realizing, hey, this is kind of like Toronto at times. So we need to fix that, right? So there's things you can do to fix it. If it's been addressed already, that's great. Maybe we can add another bus or two on those routes that are over capacity or reroute some a little bit. There's things you can do for everything. And
well, certainly, I mean, you can attract whoever you want to, but then retention becomes the real work of the effort.
Do you want them to stay after college, or are they just going to leave? And I know a lot of people have stayed after college from India and whatnot, and it's funny because a year ago they really loved it and they're staying, and now honestly, some of them just want to get out of here.
Yes.
So I want to keep them here because they're great for our economy. And they're great people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in closing, you did touch on the importance of small business because I mean historically, Sault Ste. Marie can be described as being somewhat dependent on big industry. So
I'd say 100%. Really.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be delicate about these things. We'll massage that a little bit at a conversation for another time. However. Yes, I mean, I really relate to what you're saying in terms of, kind of weaning ourselves away from being solely reliant on one industry. So I think definitely that's encouraging to have somebody who has thoughts of supporting the entrepreneurs in the community and understanding that those first 5 years of business operation are so tenuous,
critical,
so sensitive, and so easy to tip the scale one way or the other. So yes, I mean, I support your bid.
Awesome.
If I'm even allowed to say that.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not against industry or anything.
No,
I've worked for
absolutely not.
big mining companies, and I'm a big fan of getting industry here, especially the larger companies who can employ 30, 50, 100 people at a time, right? Those are important to have also.
Absolutely.
And the Soo is a great spot for those companies. But guess what? Industry is cyclic, right? If you've been here long enough, you've seen Algoma Steels.
Yeah.
It's cyclic nature. Mining
Buster
is cyclic.
boom.
Honestly. Well, that's it. How many people have shares that just went poof, right?
Yeah.
And mining, I've been in mining for long enough, for over a decade, and that's enough to know it's very cyclic, right? But you need those small businesses to come in and kind of support the economy during those down cycles, right? And then also support it on the up cycles because they're always going to be there. And if I could not go to the grocery store, and if I could just buy my food every week locally from the market or from other vendors or whatnot, I'd be in heaven. That'd be a job well done, I think. Or if I can buy things like this shirt, right? I bought this shirt locally, and I don't want to have to go to Walmart or something to buy stuff like that.
No, for sure. Well, you make some really excellent points, Brent, and it's been I've really enjoyed my conversation with you. So, in summary, I will say you can look for the written summary of this article or this interview, and keep a close watch on the race for CAO, because I do believe we have a contender. Thank you very much for watching.